Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Third Degree Sports Network. I'm joined here again by my great friend Jaron. Jaron, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
And
excited for another episode.
Yeah, excited here. Glad we're getting to continue it. And joined by new fellow host is Brian Brake. Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me out today.
Yeah, Brian's going to join us and mostly do some NASCAR stuff and some motorsports stuff, and that's kind of his thing. And he was listening to the show, and by the way, thanks for that. You may have been one of the few. Our first episode here, and he asked me about doing some NASCAR stuff, and I thought that was a good idea, living especially where we do and being as
NASCAR country.
Being as big as NASCAR is, around here. I thought it'd be good to get.
Well, it's want to bring in a different perspective to the sports world. Motorsports is a big industry, not just NASCAR. I mean, there's plenty of other series out there. Of course, I grew up as a motorsports fan. If it's got a motor and you can go fast in it, I'm going to watch it and enjoy it. So, we something to think about and watch and bring to the show,
and it's one of the few sports that is actually created here in the United States that people can follow and be proud of. As some people know, stock car racing, if I'm not mistaken, was created by a lot of the moonshiners.
Oh yeah, they them boys back in the day, Prohibition was had to outrun the cops, so they started modifying and their cars, and when they got bored on the weekends, they started racing each other, and here we are, 60-some years now. NASCAR's been running as a sanctioned body, so it's good times. If you ain't never been to a race, go to one of your local tracks. There's plenty of local dirt tracks around here.
You've got the Ona Speedway. That's still open, right?
Yes. Actually, I was going to mention some of the local tracks here. We got one in Ona. We got one. It's asphalt. It's just under a half-mile track. If you like the asphalt racing, like me, I grew up on the dirt tracks. We got one at Ripley there at the Fairplain exit, Parkersburg, and Beckley's running this year. And if you want to drive all the way down to Princeton, they got one. So there's plenty in the area. So.
There's quite a few, more than I thought, actually. I mean,
yeah. Well, Brian, glad to have you. Glad you joined our team and add a new outlook on a different sport that we're familiar with, but probably don't follow near as much as what you may. So it'd be good to get a different perspective on a couple of different things here.
Well, like I said, I appreciate it. Of course, I'm a fan of all sports. Of course, I don't follow baseball like you guys do, but I'll throw in some key points or my thoughts here and there. So.
Well, Chris isn't a huge NASCAR fan if he likes Kyle Busch. I mean, that's just one of those bandwagon guys you want to race for too.
Well, I think it's just because he likes M&Ms and
that might be.
I never thought of that.
That's true.
I think that might be.
Put a candy sponsor on the car. I think Chris may enjoy every bit of it. So
there we go.
But we'll dive into some NASCAR here just a little bit. Give you a little bit of what we're want to dive into today. We'll talk about the Yasiel Puig story, and unless you've lived under a rock here the last week or so, you've probably heard at least a little bit about it. We'll talk some NASCAR, as we said. We'll go into the new NCAA rules that allow kids to have meals
and snacks.
It's no longer
just meals.
Just meals.
Crazy.
So we'll dive into that a little bit. Then we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming West Virginia season, post spring game, and Marshall's spring game is coming up this coming weekend, and we'll talk a little bit about them pre-spring game. And then we'll dive into a little bit of baseball. We'll talk about some players that's had some hot starts and some cold starts, and so we got a great show lined up for you, and we'll go ahead and dive right into it. As we said, the Yasiel Puig story, it's something that the ESPN, the magazine, first broke. This week they done a 5-chapter series on Yasiel and his defection from Cuba. And if you have not read it, come up and looked anything about it, please do it, because it's a fantastic story that that I think a lot of people need to hear about, because some of the struggles that he went through, just it's amazing.
Yeah, it kind of makes me. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of him, but after reading this story and just seeing what he went through to get to where he's at now, it's unbelievable. I mean, we don't realize how lucky we have it here.
Well, that's what you say. He's not the first person to defect from Cuba, so there's.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know why you want to live in those conditions, and more power to him. He's
just a lucky one that has the natural ability to play baseball and come over here and earn millions of dollars. But yeah, I mean that's just a wild story. And I guess Chris is going to kind of quickly summarize the story.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown just in case if you haven't really got much into it here. In late April of 2012, Yasiel Puig and his childhood friend Yanier Despain, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
He's a former Cuban national level boxer. They were smuggled out of Cuba. Their journey started by traveling and navigating their way through 50 kilometers of swampland, which was the worst type of land down there.
I mean, it's just terrible.
During the night, they had to, navigate through the rainforest and wetlands of Cuba, and then at night they were actually able to travel the beach. And the mosquitoes were so bad at night that sometimes they had to walk in water up to their noses just to make sure that they stayed away from mosquitoes.
You've seen these survivor shows on Discovery Channel and stuff, and these guys surviving in the night in these places. I mean, they say the mosquitoes are just so bad that you can't sleep. It just drives you crazy. So you can imagine what they were going through.
Yeah, but they were met by a group known as Lancheros on part of the Cuban island there that was unnamed by Despain. This is all done by through the eyes of Despain, his Puig's buddy that he defected with. So they met at a rendezvous point that was unknown, and they were picked up by Lancheros, as I said, and the head Lanchero, the guy I guess that was kind of over the whole smuggling operation.
It's all like human trafficking, right?
Yeah, it's all human trafficking.
That's what that group is.
Was Tomasito, and we'll talk a bit more about him in a second. But once they were picked up from Cuba, they were taken to an island just off of Cancun, where they awaited the funds from the head guy over the whole thing, Raul Pacheco, which paid Tomasito and the Lancheros $250,000 to get Puig and his group out of Cuba. And I was reading where it said the normal trafficking sum is right around $10,000.
I was going to say, that seems like a lot of money, but for what these athletes are worth, and that's like you said, most of them were $10,000, but for these two guys, it was $250,000.
Yeah,
and
what kind of started this whole thing was, the United States' trade embargo against Cuba, established, back when President Eisenhower was in office back in 1960. It was just a year after Fidel Castro took power, and it made it illegal for American entities to do business with Cuban nationals, or to even hire them unless they were actually defected from Cuba. In effect, it renounced their citizenship to Cuba, and a lot of times they were imprisoned if they were caught trying to get their way out of Cuba.
Probably more than that.
And since 2009, the market value for most talented Cuban players has just exploded. Starting with Aroldis Chapman, everybody knows Aroldis.
The Cuban Missile.
Yeah, the Cuban Missile shut down. 100 miles per hour fastball. He departed from the Cuban national team at a tournament in the Netherlands and quickly became a resident of the obscure European microstate of Andorra. And months later, he was able to sign for the Cincinnati Reds for $30 million.
Just like that, his life.
Just like that, his life changed. And I think he was 26, 28 whenever he signed.
Yeah, he was older for what you see coming into the MLB, but
so just like that, to uproot your life, I understand. Yeah, this is a bad country, and but it's still your home to uproot your life and to better yourself like that. And I know Puig done it. He done the only reason why he came to America was from what I gathered was for his girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean
that.
who come with to Spain, but another Cuban defectee, I guess you could say, was Cuban slugger Jose Abreu. He became a resident of Haiti or Dominican Republic, depending on which news source you look at. But he set the record just recently by signing a $68 million contract. So, but and some of the things that has happened to Puig and this to Spain. I think it was last year, maybe. Despain was actually confronted by one of Tomasito's
When they're getting
head
death
security
threats,
guys. And the guy stopped him in the middle of the road and put a gun to his chest and pretty much told him, Puig owes us money, and if he doesn't pay, you're going to die.
Yeah, you really don't hear about it. But can you imagine if somebody put a gun to Albert Pujols' chest? It would be all over national news. It'd be all over every outlet. I mean, just imagine. And these guys, this stuff's happening to them, and nobody even hears about it until now.
On a daily basis. I mean, it's
And reading this story, you got a sense that there's a small community down in Florida that is mostly Cuban immigrants that live in this town, and they said this was a pretty common thing to happen down there. You're getting a lot of death threats down there because there's a lot of families that they bring in 5 or 6 of your family members. That's $60,000. Who's going to be able to afford that a lot?
Yeah, you say you can do it just because you want to get out of Cuba, but then once it happens, you can't hold it in Europe. I mean, you just can't hold up your end of the deal, I guess, and pay it.
And something that hasn't really come out until now, over this whole story was, during spring training this year, or I'm sorry, last year, Puig was actually a guy come to Puig's room in Arizona while they were at spring training and demanded that Puig give his boss Tomasito his money.
I mean, it's happening all the time because these guys don't mess around, and I mean, you hate this. I mean, I don't know. You just hate to say it, but something could happen. I mean, but you don't hear about this stuff until after it happens. But and now it's made the Dodgers organization hire an entire security team just for
Yasiel Puig, who has been with him since then.
Yeah, but I mean, and you stopped your story when he got to that just outside of Cancun, but that's when it kind of gets even more interesting.
Because they pretty much it took Pacheco a while to get the money. I think it was around a week or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what
get the money.
ESPN was.
And after a couple of days, they Tomasito's guys were pretty much threatening Puig and his group every day, saying, "I come and got you. I delivered. Now you're going to deliver."
Yeah, where's the money?
Yeah, and just some of the stuff they went. It's just amazing. And as Jaron said, Yasiel Puig's got a lot of heat here recently over not only his play at some point, but the way he acts. And it's not really. I don't see it being his fault. I mean, you got to cut the guy a break at least a little bit.
That's what I was saying. Like last year, he had a lot of mental errors last year, which he was rookie coming up, playing in the big leagues. But do you think how much did this affect that? Because you can't be thinking 100% about baseball, and you think some guys sitting outside in the parking lot waiting to blow your head off. I mean, you just can't. I don't care who you are.
And what I find, what I see, Puig trying to do here, and I got to applaud him for this, even if it was just his agent speaking for him. But he come out with that immediately when this come out. This story broke. He come out and said, the through a quote through his agent was that only thing that Yasiel was worried about was being a great teammate and helping the Dodgers win. And if he's truly doing that, which I could, judging by the way he's acted at times, I don't think it bothers him as maybe much as some people, or maybe just be an act to make sure that nobody sees the pain that he may be going through.
Maybe.
But you got to applaud him for still going out there and going to work every day.
Yeah, it'd be tough. I mean, it's a tough situation.
It's a little different than going and sitting in our nice cozy office and start sitting here talking about sports. He's already in a profession where he's scrutinized for every little single thing he does.
Yeah,
if he doesn't perform on the field, and not only to receive death threats from fans that may not like you. Now you're receiving death threats because somebody got you out of the country that you wanted to leave.
Yeah, I mean it's there's no debt collectors calling his house on that one. It's being nice and saying it's money. They're knocking on your door.
Yeah, and sticking a gun in your face.
Yeah,
and another thing why wouldn't he just go ahead and pay? Because he's making good money. Just to if that would actually, but I mean there may be. I'm sure there's a lot more to this. I'm sure they're wanting more money now, knowing what he makes. I mean, so you don't know.
Well, I think it boils down to Despain. It says in there that he was approached by Pacheco to bring Puig to America.
Yeah.
It said that he was to get, if he could convince Puig to, because this was they had already tried it twice. They had already tried to leave Cuba twice and got caught. But it was said that Pacheco would pay Despain, I believe it was $150,000, and buy him a house.
Yeah.
And since they've come to America, Despain's only gotten $70,000 and no house yet.
Yeah.
So they're expecting payment, but they're not getting what they said they were going to get for coming to America.
Yeah, this whole situation is just.
But
like I said, I don't think we know the whole truth behind any of this.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to know the whole truth.
It's a crazy story. I mean,
I think Yasiel's doing a great job by not coming out and
he's not talking about
it himself, because I think that could only open up doors that he probably don't want to open up.
No, it'd just get worse. It would get worse.
But all right, let's move into NASCAR here, Brian. What do you got for us today?
Well, Chris, I'm going to start off, give you a little rundown of the season so far. Of course, it's being a Easter weekend. NASCAR's all three major NASCAR series took the weekend off. We're 8 races into this young season. It's turned out to be a pretty exciting season so far. There's been a lot of team changes. Drivers going to different teams, a little different look to some paint schemes this year. It's a lot of up and new, big rookie class this year in NASCAR. I'm going to start off right now with we're going to give you a quick rundown of the top 10 in points right now. As of last Saturday night, after good hard racing out at Darlington Speedway, Jeff Gordon's right now got the points lead.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
That's Jeff Gordon's got the points lead.
There you go. It's still early, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it's still early, but it's not a major lead. He's only 1 point, 1 point ahead of Matt Kenseth.
He's been known to have a hiccup here of late. So.
Matt Kenseth's gonna be second in points, followed by Carl Edwards, Dale Jr. Yeah, there's a lot of junior fans out there. I can't say I'm a junior fan, but I'm a junior follower. He's
good for NASCAR.
He's fourth in points. He started off season strong with a win at Daytona 500. It's his second win at Daytona. Looking for big things out of Junior this year. His crew chief is his last year. He's going to retire.
Okay, I want to stop you there. Sorry.
Okay.
I gotta say this, and I'm gonna make a lot of Dale Jr. fans mad. I'm also not a big Junior fan. I think he rides the coattails of his dad's career, and a lot of his fans. But I don't. Up until this year, and maybe the first year that he was he was in NASCAR. I think he's been a mediocre driver.
Yeah, he has. I mean, but big shoes to fill. Of course, everybody knows the late great Dale Earnhardt. He revolutionized the sport. Yeah, Junior. He'll never be his dad, and a lot of people, that's how they expect him to be. He's still above average driver. You got to be in this sport and to be in it as long as he has. But I expect it to be a different year for Junior. Everybody on the team is, I guess, rejuvenated. I don't know what they did in the off season, but watch for him. Of course, fifth in points this week, Jimmy Johnson. I know there's a lot of Jimmy Johnson fans out there.
Seventh time.
I'm gonna say it right now. As bad as I hate to, I think Jimmy's gonna get his seventh Sprint Cup championship this year. It's a tough team, the 48 Lowe's team. Chad Canals calling the shots on the pit box. It's
tough. They're tough to beat.
They're a dangerous duo. I mean, we'll. I got some more to add to Jimmy Johnson here in a minute, but of course, sixth in points right now is Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
Seventh, Brad Keselowski. Eighth, Joey Logano. 9, Ryan Newman. That's kind of surprising. Ryan Newman switched teams this year. He left Stuart Haas. He's running now for RCR, running the 31 Caterpillar car. He's got a new team. They seem pretty be hitting on all cylinders right now, so we'll keep an eye on them. This is a shocker for me. Of course, it's only 8 races in, but rookie Austin Dillon. He's around out the top 10 in points right now. He's running pretty good.
Is it just me, or is he stirring up a lot of?
He is. That was actually
around the drivers there.
Well, yeah, that's actually, Chris. I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually my next thing to bring up was Austin Dillon. Started the season, it caused a lot of controversy with fans and in the garage area. Mixed emotions. Austin Dillon, of course, bringing out the legendary number 3 car. Just give you a little background for those you don't know. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last 25 years. The number 3 car was, of course, drove by the late, great Dale Earnhardt, which, tragically lost his life 2001 at the Daytona 500. But, it's mixed emotions. Me, I'm kind of, really doesn't bother me either way. Dale Earnhardt didn't own the car or the number. Richard Childress decided it was time to bring out the number 3 car, and he got a good driver. Of course, Austin Dillon is the grandson of team owner Richard Childress. Austin Dillon come up through the truck series, then in the nationwide series. Papa thought it was time to put him behind the wheel, and I'm glad to see it out there. It's if NASCAR wanted to do something, they'd start retiring numbers, but
He's done a phenomenal job so far.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're only 8 races in, but
as a rookie, he's
to be top 10 in points.
I think it's good for NASCAR too. I mean, you need some controversy. You need somebody to stir stuff up a little bit.
Yeah, and
that's what gets your fan. I mean, that's why people want to watch it, to see what's going to happen, see who's going to throw the helmet at the windshield this week.
Oh, that's
what people want to see.
And you need the younger guys to step up so you can start getting your younger generation watching again. If you have guys like Michael Waltrip coming out winning races, that are in their 50s, a lot of these younger guys don't know who Michael Waltrip are, and they'll say, I don't know who he is, and I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of old guys out there.
Yeah, it's the past few, I'd say, past my personal opinion about the past 5 years, we've gone through a new wave of drivers. About 10 years ago, they had a big group called the Young Guns. That was, Ryan Newman, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch. Those guys come in as rookie classes together, and we're in a new phase of NASCAR. It's an exciting. I mean, it's exciting times if you're a race fan. Like I said, it hasn't disappointed yet this year. we Martinsville a couple weeks ago. It was short track racing, fenders falling off. Kurt Busch pulls into victory lane, and he's half his fenders caved in. It's
It makes it fun to watch.
That's exactly
yeah.
what
It was good times. Bristol didn't disappoint us so far this year. Of course, Lady in Black at Darlington last week. She danced with quite a few guys, and of course all of them went home brokenhearted. But that brings me to, I bring up so far this year my hots and nots. I got more hots this year because they may not show it in the points, but Kevin Harvick, of course, now driving the number 4 car for Stewart Haas Racing. He left. Said he left. Come on over Stewart Haas, which Stewart Haas got a newer team. Of course, talking about Tony Stewart, and Kevin Harvick's got 2 wins this year. He's the first multi-winner so far this, but doesn't show it in the points. He's only 24th in points with two early DNFs this year. That it doesn't fare well. But like I said, we're only 8 races in. But also joining Kevin Harvick over at Stewart Haas this year is Kurt Busch. It's a name that kind of fell off to the wayside there for a few years. Kurt Busch lost his ride with Penske. Started his own team. He, had struggles, and drove last year for Front Row Racing, Furniture Row Racing. I'm sorry, and
had some success for that team.
Yeah, they had quite a few good looking games. Quite a few good looking races. They
especially for a team that's out of Denver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're a one car team, but hey, that's all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. You can only get 1 car in victory lane. So.
Exactly. But Kurt, I'm kind of a Kurt Busch fan. I'm glad to see him with a good team. Got some money, got some sponsors out there. Put the parts in the car and keep it on the track. So, Kurt, he said won a couple weeks ago at Martinsville, but he's having kind of a tough season. He, like I said last week at Darlington, he danced with the lady in black and he lost with her. But he's got 3 DNFs this year, but. Hey, it's like I said, it's still pretty early.
I think NASCAR done a good job by, if you win a race, you're pretty much a perennial lock for the chase. As long as you continue to.
Yeah, they've changed the rules a little bit again. Like I said, this year they've the new qualifying, which is pretty exciting. If you guys have got to see that yet, I like to call them like the 30-minute, 20-minute, and 15-minute jam sessions. It's NASCAR's changing. Now, listen to the fans. It's definitely a fan-based sport. NASCAR takes into account what the fans want to and what they want, and they try to make it fun for them. If you ain't never been to a NASCAR race, it's just not one day of fun. It's a whole week experience.
It's a whole lot different than watching on TV. I can tell you.
Yes, I've been to quite a few, and the campers and the haulers and stuff start rolling in Tuesday, and vendors start setting up, But it's one of them great old American sports. It's not just 43 cars going left for 4 hours. It's a
lot of strategy goes into it.
Oh yeah, it's think about going to the beach. It's drive 300 miles in 8 hours. These guys are driving 500 miles in 3 hours. So yeah, But I got a couple points to bring up. Of course, like I said, they're off this week. Next week, they're back under the lights at Richmond. Nationwide Series running a Toyota Owners 250 on Friday night, and then Big Stars, the Sprint Cup Series, they take to the track Saturday night for the Toyota Owners 400. On Fox Sports, check them out. But I got one thing I want to bring up is a Nationwide Series. It's most people don't talk about the Nationwide Series. That's all the young and up-and-comers come through. Right now, the hot guy there is Chase Elliott. Most of you guys probably don't know who Chase Elliott is. His real name is William Clyde Elliott II. He's son of the late great. The great Bill Elliott.
That's what I was going to ask. Is he
Awesome
relation
Bill
to
from
Bill?
Dawson.
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. That's right. He's that's his dad. He's won back-to-back races. Looking like he's the hot guy right now in the Nationwide Series. Of course, when your dad's the fastest man in NASCAR, that's also big shoes to fill. Of course, just a little stupid fact for you. Back in it was '86 or '87 season at Talladega, Awesome Bill set the NASCAR speed record at 212 miles an hour.
That's still the record.
Still the record.
Wow,
200.
Impressive.
Yeah,
impressive with all the technology and.
Yeah, well, and that was also a big thing. That was way before what they call restrictor plate racing.
Yeah,
And of course, Awesome Bill was the man that caused all that. You going 212 miles an hour in a your not your mama's day car, but NASCAR. It's it's
Not
pretty
the
impressive.
normal Griswold station wagon.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's came a long way. I mean, now these guys can wreck, and no matter how they wreck, they're
Yeah, technology.
unless it's something crazy, that they're going to be fine.
Yeah, almost every track now has what they call the safer barriers on the outside and inside walls. There's quite a few tracks don't have 100% safer barriers, but they have them where they count. In-car safety features, Hans devices, seats, everything is NASCAR safety conscious. It's improved a lot over the last 13, 14 years. So that's all for the fans. It's kind of hard to have fans if all the drivers are broke sitting in their hauler. So
That's true. If you're hearing some wind, we are outside today. We're live here from in Madison, West Virginia.
he's actually lying to you. It's a balmy 80 degrees. We're sitting on the beach in Cancun.
Yeah.
It's
We come to see firsthand the Puig experience here. No, I'm just kidding.
like I said, that pretty much wraps up my NASCAR report. Like I said, if you guys never been to a race, there's plenty of local dirt tracks. Me particularly, I'm a huge dirt track fan. I love getting out on Friday and Saturday nights, going to local dirt tracks, see your local boys. Most tracks run 5 or 6 different classes of cars, so you're going to see everything from little go-karts all the way up to 800 cubic inch late model cars doing about 120, 130 miles an hour on 3/8 mile dirt tracks. Get out and enjoy it, guys. But like I said, if you got anything else we need to add, like to hear on the NASCAR report or motorsports wise, just let us know and we'll get it filled in there for you.
Great job, Brian. That's a spot that I think will do pretty good here on the show. I think a lot of people will like having a little bit of NASCAR news. So, Jerry, you got anything to add there?
No, I think he covered about all of it. He knows his stuff. So if you have any questions or comments or want to hear anything else, next time we do this, just put it on, Facebook or Twitter, and we'll cover it.
And don't forget, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Third Degree Sports Show. Look us up, drop us a line. We'll definitely get your requests as much as we can.
Moving on here a little bit, Jaron, this is something I know you wanted to talk about. You brought up to me. The NCAA, some of their new stuff that they're coming up with. What's the deal with it so far?
Well, they're giving all athletes. It used to be all scholarship athletes would get, their free meals and just some small snacks is what they call it. But now they're giving, even walk-ons, anybody like that, all college athletes are getting 3 meals a day plus all these snacks. This is what it's crazy because these athletes coming out and saying they're not. Last year you heard a lot of it. Even the national championship game, you heard some of those players talking about they go to bed, starving, and I think it's crazy. Whenever I was, at Marshall and at Eastern Kentucky, you see these athletes up there. They eat all they want, anytime they want. I guess the problem is some of these athletes get this. They're living off campus, living in their apartment, but they're still getting the funds to get their food.
Mm-hmm.
and they're sitting here saying they're going to bed starving. That's a lie. I think it's a complete lie. They're wasting their money on something else if that's the problem. And just for the NCAA to make such a big deal out of this and give them their free food, which they're already getting, I think it's crazy. I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan of the deal they're making out of this. These athletes, I can't stand.
They get more than what they put on.
Oh yes, they do. You go to any D1 college campus, the athletes are treated like royalty, and they are. They're given anything they want. They're given the free education. They're given free tutoring. There's no way they're going to fail because it's just how it is. Especially the bigger schools. I mean, these programs, they get anything they want. And then for them to come out and say they're going to bed starving, like they can't. That's unbelievable to me. I
agree, and a lot of to-do's been made about the Northwestern players trying to unionize.
Yeah.
I think this is.
I'm sorry.
This is going to ruin college football.
It's How you support?
They're getting a free education. They're getting star status. But I mean, what they're saying is they're making millions of dollars for these universities, like the Alabamas and stuff, which they are. But they signed to come and get a free education, to come and get. I mean, they're getting everything they need. Why?
Well, that's it. The players that I'm kind of on the fence. Play devil's advocate for you can say. I can see case to case basis on the free meals and stuff because what about these walk-on guys that not getting a scholarship, not getting a free ride. There's every school's got them. I can see those guys instead of having to work in the dining hall to pay to pay for their schooling and stuff.
Wash dishes.
These guys are the guys that are getting forgotten in this whole thing.
What about me? What about me going to school there? Why am I having to pay for it? And I'm paying my tuition. He's not.
And see, another thing I think this is going to bring up too is let's say, they start paying athletes or athletes start receiving funds.
That'll ruin college.
You're going to see a split locker room in a lot of places because, the high prolific 5-star running back's getting X amount of dollars. For his autograph, $250 for one of his autographs. But the third string left tackle
is getting
$35, and why is he getting more than I am? This is because he's a bigger name.
This is why I love college athletes and college sports, just because these guys are playing so much harder, it seems like, than the guys in the NBA and the guys in the major league sometimes in NCAA and NFL, but it's because they're wanting to get that paycheck. They're playing super hard just to try to get that paycheck and make their life better. But if you give them a paycheck in college, I mean, there you go.
Yeah,
4 years to get paid to get a job.
I'm not a fan of the paying them. I mean, like I said, most of them are already getting a free ride, getting education paid for on their abilities. If their abilities are good enough for them to get paid, then once they finish school, they'll move on to the majors of whatever sport it is that they're playing. It's to me their reward is their college education. That's what they're playing for. Don't pay them any extra.
One thing I think you're going to see also is if they become paid athletes, the employees of the school, you're going to see a lot of these, especially smaller schools and mid-level schools. They're going to go to Division III type.
You're going to have to.
They're not going to give you free ride. There'll be no scholarships.
No, you can't afford
it. Yeah, it's going to ruin college sports altogether.
And I don't think these athletes realize that they'll be paying instead of just paying for a little bit here and there. Now they'll be paying $36,000 a year to go to school, and
they got to pay them to play.
Exactly, and and they're not going to make $36,000 a year to play at the college level. So now they're going to be complaining and
it's not enough money.
It's not enough money. I can't pay for school. Well, it's either you got to give to get.
Yeah, it's just it's getting out of hand, and I'm afraid it's going to just continue to get out of hand and get worse because these players, I don't know when did they think that a free education wasn't enough? When did it change? When this whole I don't understand.
You know, I was a student athlete. You know, I played in college. I played for a year, and I met times where it was tough. I'll admit, but I mean, because you can't. You know, at times you're playing baseball 3 and 4 hours a day, or stuff like that plus class. But you can always find ways.
Was it a money issue?
Well, sometimes
or just a time issue.
Both. At times it was both. It was a money issue because you honestly you can't get a job.
No.
And
but I mean every other student going there, not the athletes. I mean
exactly.
If they're taking 24 credit hours or whatever,
it's the same.
I mean they're spending just as much time it's a point you can argue both ways.
It's something we consider for hours and argue over just the whole thing, and it's everybody's got their opinions on it, but we'll see how it comes out. That's kind of a waiting game right now. See what happens with what the NCAA has to say about it. And
I think you'll see soon enough.
I hope
what's going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, I'm hoping it's squashed real quick. But
I think it will be. I hope it is at least because I think it'll really ruin the college level of athletics.
Yeah, and to me, college level is probably the funnest level of sports. I mean, I love watching college level sports. I love watching college basketball, but I can't stand to watch NBA. I love college football. I can watch college football. I could care who's playing. It could be North Dakota State.
Because they're playing hard. They're giving 100% effort every play. Just try to get somebody to notice them.
Yeah, so like I said, we'll have to wait and see how it happens and how it turns out.
So moving away from this topic, but staying a little bit with college football as we wind down the show here. Jaron, you're a Marshall expert here. You're the one. You're a huge Marshall fan. Pre-spring game. All right, it's a week away. What are some of the things you want to see as a fan, and maybe as a coach heading into the going into the spring game this coming weekend?
The biggest thing for Marshall is you just have to have everybody stay healthy because they have really high expectations this year. Marshall is a team that when the preseason poll comes out, they could be getting votes in the top 25. They have a weaker schedule this year, but that's mainly due to Louisville backing out of that, coming to Huntington, which they just moved it up a year. But if you're Marshall, you want to go through spring drills, spring practice without getting anybody hurt. I mean, you have a possible Heisman candidate quarterback. Depends on the numbers he throws up this year, but they got solid receivers. The defense is solid. They have a chance with the schedule being weak this year. They really should go undefeated. I mean, it's hard to. I don't care who you're playing. It's hard to go undefeated just because you're everybody's Super Bowl.
There's always that. Yeah, there's always that chance that you're going to have that off day.
I mean, a team like Rice, which had a great year last year, they're solid. Middle Tennessee's solid. You don't hear a lot about them. And another team that people don't talk a whole lot about is Florida Atlantic. And those Florida teams you see what Central Florida's done the past 10 years. They can recruit, and those programs grow very quickly.
Well, they offer a lot,
Yeah, who wouldn't want to go? I mean, Florida Atlantic's the only stadium that you can see the ocean from in the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, you
there.
Yeah, you pretty much said it. Florida. It's I mean that's why everybody retires there. There's a reason.
And we always joke about about UTEP and having the Mexican border right there.
Yeah,
if you had your choice between seeing the ocean from the stadium or watching
the fence with
with Mexicans coming over top
and
of it,
70
what are you going to pick?
70-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, I know, and that's right. And those Florida schools, and like I mentioned, I hate Central Florida, but that's just going to continue to grow. And I think that's the team that could be a powerhouse someday. They really could.
And there's a reason why, in the past, of course, WU's been a big recruiter out of Florida. I mean.
Yeah, when they had Holiday as their recruiting coordinator. I mean,
And this is probably one of the best recruiting classes Marshall's ever had.
it is,
It's
and
really
they got a couple.
solid.
They got a couple transfers from one from Alabama, a receiver. That he's gonna not a transfer. I don't think he qualified. Came to Marshall. I think he's qualified. He can start. He can play this year, and he could be the real deal. They're saying he could be the next Randy Moss. I mean, that's how a small school like Marshall can kind of try to keep up with the bigger schools, because a lot of these athletes they can't really academically, they can't make it in some of these schools, and the help program that Marshall has is great. I mean, and it's not just giving them a free pass to come and play. They have to do the work and stuff, but it's a good program. Not many schools have it in the country, but it helps out Marshall's athletics.
No, yeah.
Well, it just look at I mean, most people who know me, I'm not a Marshall fan. Of course I grew up blue and gold, but Marshall does they have in the past produced star players. Of course Randy Moss, Chad Pennington. It's
Troy Brown. Yeah, I mean you got Brown with Super Bowl rings all over his hand. I mean that.
Yeah, just I don't know if you all know this, a dumb little fact that I carry around the top of my head. I'm a vault of useless knowledge, but comedian actor Billy Crystal, he played a year of Marshall baseball.
Yeah.
Just so you guys, I learned that fact the other day. But hey, it's hey.
Well, going back to the receiver from Alabama that you say could be the real deal. That's something that Cato needs.
He's got
Schuler,
which is like a Wes Welker type receiver.
And losing Gator Hodgkins, this past year, that's going to hurt.
A lot of touchdowns.
If they can get somebody in there that could free up Schuler,
which we got a couple.
And I think it'll be great for him. And you got to expect a big season out of Cato. I think he is first in passing yards since he come in the NCAA.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit early for Marshall. Usually they wait till after spring games and stuff to start Heisman campaigns. But I think Marshall really needs to push this. I mean, he's not going to win the Heisman. We know that. He's no way. Just if you could get him in the 4th spot or so, just to get to New York.
Get him to New York. I mean,
that's just huge for a program. I don't care. Just so much publicity. I mean, you see it on ESPN. They talk about him all the time, and that just gets your school's name out there, and gets some of these recruits. They say, "Oh, they've had Leftwich, they've had Pennington, they've had Cato, they've had Heisman candidates. Why wouldn't I go there? I get to go in and start."
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to Doc Holliday finally, getting
he's had
a couple seasons under his belt where he's had success, because
he's got his system in place now, his players in place.
He's such a likable guy.
He is,
and
the
he's
players
a part
love
of this state.
If you listen to the interviews and stuff, the players love him.
Blue collar guy.
Yeah, he's from Southern West Virginia.
He's from Hurricane.
So I mean that's what you want to see, and I really like Holliday, and a lot of people the first couple of years he was here gave him grief, but I mean he wasn't working with his players and his program, but now he got everything in order, and he's got a chance to maybe run the table this year. He should really, but I mean you might lose a game, but
okay. Real quick, we'll talk about W post spring game. Seen some good things from West Virginia in their spring game. Of course, the defense is probably gonna look the best because they've seen your playbook all spring, and they've been able to really get down what you're going to do and your looks. But I think the shining point at quarterback at least was walk on Logan Moore from Princeton. He looked really good, threw the ball well. I think he consistently moved the team down the field. He didn't have a touchdown pass. He did lead the team down to I think it was 2 or 3 field goal drives. But the depth of this team is going to be running back. Rochelle Shell, and then Andrew Bowie's back. You got Dustin Garrison back. Wendell Smallwood.
Yeah, they're running backs. They're looking good. Bowie and Smallwood. Those two guys, I think they'll be pretty exciting to watch. I mean, of course, we'll have to wait and see with the tough season we got coming up. But
yeah, and I think you're going to see a vast improvement in the receivers this year. Mario Alford had that opening kickoff of the spring game. He ran back 100 yards. I expect a lot coming from Wofford and a couple more receivers. Defensively, they look solid. They finally got an experienced secondary.
That's the key right there. The secondary. Of course, we all know the past couple of years has been our weakness is that secondary. So
And new defensive coordinator Tony Gibson. We talked a little bit about Holiday being from the southern part of the state. He's from right here, just 8 miles up the road in Van.
There's some big coaches came out of West Virginia. People don't realize.
Nick Saban. You got Nick Saban. I just drew a blank here, but one of the biggest, Nick Saban. You got Rich Rodriguez, who's kind of
the best.
Jimbo Fisher.
Jimbo Fisher, yeah,
Jimbo
from Fairmont.
How could we forget about that?
The D'Antoni brothers.
Yeah, which we'll find out, I guess, later this coming week if he's going to be coming to Marshall to coach.
But I think Gibson is going to do a good job with this defense. He's already started hearing reports that the players really, really like him. They're buying into the system.
Yeah,
that's what you need.
Yeah,
that's what you need. Moving away from college football, going to end the show with MLB players off to hot starts. Jen, you want to go first? We'll go with hitters first off to hot starts.
Ian Kinsler's been hot for the Tigers. And like we said in last week's show, that really hurt the Rangers, I think, losing him. I'm not really sure of his average right now. I don't have my phone up, but he's came through in clutch times for the Tigers, which the Tigers are only one game over 500 right now. But he's starting out hot, and that's what the Tigers needed.
Okay, pitcher off to a hot start.
Man, I don't know. I didn't think of this one. Go. Let me think about that one. You go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. My hot start. My hitter is Youngarvis Salarda, third baseman for the Yankees. He's hitting 373 with a home run and 9 RBIs. But the surprising part is his 448 on base percentage. He beat out Eduardo Nunez for the utility spot. Then Mark Teixeira goes down.
Yeah.
They have to move Kelly Johnson from third to first. So now Salarda is making his first appearance in Major League Baseball. And for a team that needed a hot start from somebody and an aging, you got Beltran out. You got Jeter's had missed some starts due to some nagging injuries. On a team that's up there in age, you need a hot. They needed that. Yep. They really needed that. Pitching wise, I
think I'm going to take your pick. I got mine, but I'm not going to say it because I think you're going to say it.
Aaron Harain.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 3-1. He's thrown 25 2/3 innings, an ERA of .70, and he has 22 strikeouts. Last night, he carried his second. Yes, I said second. No hitter into the second inning this year, or to the seventh inning this year. Of course, the first one was the Brewers' his first start of the season, and last night he went 7 innings, no hits. He hasn't given up more than 1 run in a ball game. He's been impressive. He really has.
Yeah, he has.
Cold starts. My hitters, Jason Hayward. The Braves, with all the injuries they've had, in the pitching staff especially, they've needed hot starts from their guys that are going to produce. And in the leadoff spot, his on base percentage is just .237, and he's already struck out 17 times in 56 at bats.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with the Tigers there. My cold Cabrera for a superstar. He usually starts out. Well, he's usually strong all season, but for his numbers, career numbers, he's a little bit of a slow start this year, and he's going to be all right. He'll get out of that for sure, but. And pitching, Verlander is a little bit cold for his numbers. Like I said, he's 2-1, but his strikeouts aren't there like usual. So it seems like something may be off a little bit, but I'm sure he'll get it straightened out.
My cold pitcher, and I wish Chafe was here because I know he would probably agree with me, even though he's a Reds fan. Homer Bailey.
Yeah.
Homer Bailey through 3 starts is 0-1. He's thrown 14 and 1/3 innings, given up 24 hits, 13 runs. His ERA is 8.16 and has a WHIP of over 2.
The best time he's sleeping away on that bed of gold is
for that guy that just signed a 6-year, and yes, I said 6-year, $105 million deal. You've got to prove you're worth it.
Yeah.
Especially in the first year, you better prove you're worth it.
There's no hitters got him that deal. I
think. He's not. He's off to a terrible start if that's what he's trying to do is prove that he's worth it. But that's our hot, cold players. Brian, you got anything to add?
Oh, well, y'all been throwing. Well, I know listening to y'all's broadcast last week. Everybody put in one final thought. I'm gonna give you my final thought this week. New driver putting on the race suit for the very first time this year. The last name of Gordon, Sophia Gordon, of course, the daughter of Jeff Gordon. She'll starting out this year in the quarter midgets. Of course, keeping that family tradition going. I'm sure Jaren's excited for that.
She'll be a great.
We'll see what happens. Like I said, appreciate you guys having me on. Look forward to doing it again next week.
Yeah, we appreciate you come back and definitely come back with us. Jaren, you're one big thing.
Well, last week I went with Mike D'Antoni saying maybe at the end of this week he might be named Marshall head coach. Not really sure right now what's going to happen. They're waiting for Easter break to be off here to do all that, but I don't want to go with it again, but this week he'll be named head coach, Marshall University.
My one big thing is since he's been out of the NFL since 2011, Mr. Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco, signs with Montreal in the Canadian Football League.
Oh, good old Ocho Stinko.
We can watch those games before NFL start. They usually start in about July, don't they?
Yeah. And that's one big thing. It's good to see. I've always been, he's had an attitude. I've always been a little bit of an Ochocinco fan just because
it'll be interesting.
He plays the game hard.
Yeah, he does.
He loves the game, passionate about the game.
Hey, wherever he's Montreal, they'll have the fans there, I'm sure, just to see him.
But that'll do it here for the second episode of the Third Degree Sports Radio Network. Thanks for being with us.